You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, card shop, arcade, theme park, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. I am Mr. Anything is Feasible, George Feis.
And I'm the man they call Johnny Clash, and today we are playing Fire Pro Wrestling 2 for the Game Boy Advance. How is this game going to hold up? Is it going to get a play it forever? Woo! Or a future endeavor?
You're fired!
We're also taking an even further look into WWE 2K22's MYGM Mode, the latest hands-on gameplay video, and more.
And don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review for this podcast on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod, and check out all of the exclusive content we are creating for our Patreon at patreon.com/GameMarksPod. Johnny effing Clash. How are we doing, man?
What's up? I'm doing pretty good. I'm feeling
How
good.
are we feeling?
You know,
How are you
good
feeling
week.
about last week's game? I mean, it's the second time that we've ever been able to play an unreleased game on this podcast.
To say I thought about it in the week away that we haven't played it, I did not. So I think the future endeavor was rightful. And I don't know, Jesse the Body Ventura, Wrestling Superstars. It was brought to our attention in our Discord, actually, that little follow-up ski, that it might not have gotten released because Jesse went behind Vince McMahon's back and signed everything without WWF's permission.
Yeah, so that definitely will put a halt on things. We know that Vince has jumped in the way of things like that in the past for other things not related to video games.
Got to protect your brand. We're not sure if that's the case because I didn't find anything in my research on it. I was on Reddit. I was everywhere. But maybe one day we'll get a definitive answer on that, but probably not. But that was, last week's game. You're still feeling the future endeavor?
Oh, yeah. That just was not a great game that we played. And, you know, maybe Vince saved the world from, save the U.S. at least from that.
Well, pretty funny today that we have a American Fire Pro Wrestling release that is very rare, really. And listen, Wrestling Superstars could have been the first.
Yeah,
but
it's very true.
We're inching closer and closer to 2K22 being released to the world.
Weeks.
But we got some more news. We got some more footage that we were able to watch this week. One thing we forgot to mention is they took away the limit on reversals you could do throughout the match. So you are now back to unlimited reversals. Now,
I want it to be known, I never had that on. It's like literally the first thing that I turned off with every 2K game because that's like what makes the match interesting. Like you see how often that happens in real life where like you get these crazy sequences where like it's like reversal after reversal after reversal. When you're, you know, when John, you can put this into real context as a wrestler. You don't really sit there and you go, well, if we do too many reversals, it's not believable.
Well, you could.
We can only limit it to 4.
Adding a little drama here. We also saw William Regal is also a GM in MyGM Mode. Along with
big fan of William Regal.
Yeah, Shane, Stephanie, Adam Pearce, and Sonya Deville. I always go to call her by her real name because I watched Tough Enough, and it always just stuck with me. But yeah, Sonya Deville, not Daria Benedetto or whatever it is. So a few things about MyGM Mode that are a little disappointing, but I'll tell you why it's okay after. It's capped off at 50 weeks. Now, you could select a shorter season if you prefer, but 50 weeks, so it's kind of odd because it's not even 52, like a full year. But 50 weeks is what you get per MyGM Mode. Now, I play a lot of franchise mode in NHL, even Road to the Show, in, what's it called? MLB The Show. And I always select, like, there's so much in these games. Like, just think, you're getting NHL right now. You now have franchise mode, which is 82 games plus the playoffs. You now have the pro mode, which is 82 games plus the playoffs plus cutscenes. You have all the online modes. You have Hockey Ultimate Team. Yeah, so when I go into franchise mode, I'm picking like 24 games, and that's it. Or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see a problem in being able to choose how long you want your MyGM mode to go, because maybe you want to go through Stephanie and then Shane and then Regal and all of them, and you want to do a little something different each time. I think that's completely okay. Now, there's also a limit on the card size per show. That's how many matches you can do. You can't do custom brands like we talked about last week. And there's only one-on-one and tag team matches, no triple threats or any specialty matches, and your brand can only have one men and one women's world championship, no side titles, which are no Intercontinental, US, tag, any of that. And there's only 4 pay-per-views and then WrestleMania. So I think it's a little light. I think it's something they could develop for future games, but here's why it's okay. Universe mode is pretty much all of that you could do whatever you want, right?
Yeah, I was just going to, as you were saying this, I was just kept wanting to be like, but there's universe mode, but that's you. And I was just like, I know we're getting to that. I know that we're getting to that, but.
So that's why I don't see a problem with it, because they're not going to repeat game modes and overlap stuff. I get it. Everyone wants the drawn out GM mode, but maybe this will lead to like universe mode being the GM mode and you could kind of combine the two things. But I like the challenge base. I like that you're going to get power ups and whatnot. And GM mode's going to be, I think, let's give it like a year or two, or hey, this one could even be good also, and see what develops from it.
So I also have like another little update for 2K22 that I know that we talked about it, but I don't know if we mentioned its availability, I guess. Have you seen anybody talking about the collector's edition in the US?
No.
I don't think it's available in the US. I think it's only an international thing.
So is that the one with the Mysterio mask?
The steel case and the Mysterio mask, because I see it on, ready for this throwback, on ebgames.com.
And
because EB is
Canada,
still a
right?
thing outside of the United States.
Okay, yeah, I've been to them in Canada.
So I think it may be only an international release for the PS5. Okay,
well, I wasn't gonna get it anyway, but for the people who were, I guess now they got a nice eBay chunk of change they're gonna be putting out, right?
Because I was just like, oh, how come I can't just see this on the WWE 2K website?
Yeah,
it's because it doesn't exist.
All right, well, that's good to know. Now, IGN also posted a hands-on playthrough of 2K22 where Dale Driver from IGN went through and played some of the modes. Overall, he seemed to be pretty impressed with it compared to 22. I watched the video. Everything looks pretty damn good. They even start off the video by showing 2K20, so you can see like the visuals back and forth of what actually changed from game to game. And let me tell you, it's when you do that, this game is impressive. I think the TV presentation looks great. The lighting, of course, that we've been talking about is great. The Thunderdome is going to be so cool. I'm actually excited for a WWE game, and this is a strange feeling.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's just knowing the hype that we had for 2K20 and how immediately we were just like, John, yeah. I immediately feel guilty for all of the hype that we put in the episodes. Granted, we were still very early on in the podcast, but man, what a letdown. But we weren't the only ones, so
we were also afraid to like be negative, but now I'm sitting here like, oh, Virtual Basement can suck it and and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2K22 looks good. I'm excited for wrestling game. I feel like the last one I've been excited for was Retromania. And even before that, I got a little bit excited for Battlegrounds, and that kind of fizzled away. No one even talks about that game anymore, but bring it on.
Update. The steel case in the United States is the pre-order bonus for WWE 2K22.
And is that with the mask, or we don't know?
I'm not seeing any, but if you go to the GameStop website and you go to WWE 2K22, you see pre-order WWE 2K22 Deluxe Edition at GameStop and receive a WWE 2K22 Steel book.
All right. Well, I was never into the steel books. I always thought they were kind of dumb. But
me either.
I did have Halo 2 as a steel book.
All right, well, hey. Is that like your one and done?
Pretty much, yeah. I think I got it for like Christmas or something.
All right, though. Is it time for us to put on those nostalgia goggles, John?
We're heading back to 2002. I'm inching towards the diving board. I'm ready to make a splash. It's time for Fire Pro Wrestling 2.
Let's go. Fire Pro Wrestling 2, brought to you by Mega Mark Brett Van. Thank you for this one, Brett. Released in Japan July 19th, 2002 under the name Final Fire Pro Wrestling Yume no Dantai Une. Released in North America September 23rd, 2002. Published by Spike in Japan, and in North America it is BAM Entertainment.
Bam! Remember ODB?
BAM!
Bam!
Developed by Spike, and this game is only available on the Game Boy Advance. And other games that are out in 2002. Quite a journey here. WWF Raw, WWF WrestleMania 18, WWE Road to WrestleMania 18 for the Game Boy Advance as well. WWE SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, Legends of Wrestling 2, and New Japan Pro Wrestling Tokan Retsuden Advance.
Year of the Game Boy Advance wrestling games. Hot damn.
Yeah.
Now, you know my love for Road to WrestleMania. I never played Road to WrestleMania X8 until we played it on the podcast. And I've never played Tokan Retsuden Advance, so...
Now, you recently made a purchase for your office, right? In regards to one of these games, correct?
I did. I bought 3 foam board mounted posters of WWF Raw, which is not my favorite game, but I loved it as a kid. And
the poster's badass.
Yeah, it's got the Undertaker with like a dragon sleeper on someone. And I did WrestleMania the arcade game, because that's definitely one of my favorites. And I did Here Comes the Pain, but the UK version, like the black cover with Brock in blue.
Ooh.
Yeah. So those will be hung over my desk soon.
That's awesome.
We digress.
All right. Now, Fire Pro Wrestling 2 is the direct sequel to another game that we have played on this podcast, 2001's Fire Pro Wrestling 1 for the Game Boy Advance. Fire Pro Wrestling 2 is not actually the second game in the series. It is just the second game to be officially translated into English and released for the Game Boy Advance in the United States. So let's talk about the game itself now, because there's the normal things that you would expect in a Fire Pro game. You have your exhibition modes, which is your normal, your death match, your gruesome match, your battle royal. But you also have the ability to do multiplayer via link cable. So your match options, you can have a single, a tag, or a handicap match. You can have it be a hardcore match, or you can have it be an American style match, which is the same as a normal match, but all of the wrestlers have a one-hit finisher.
You could just stunner everyone. That's what they think of American wrestling.
I mean, sure. They're not wrong.
But then, you get to now, and never mind.
Yeah.
Did a complete 180 there.
Crossroads comes to mind.
Yeah.
Now, the real bread and butter, the bulk of the time that you'll be spending while playing this game, is the Iron Man Road, and that's how you're gonna unlock the how many wrestlers is it? 300 and something?
Oh, it's 200 plus. You start with 10, and then once you finish the training, you're able to unlock the 11th, and then as you keep beating opponents, you get more and more and more and more in the different promotions, just like every Fire Pro game. Now, we're not going to read this roster.
Oh, thank God.
We can't. It's just impossible. God. Even if I speed it up, it's still going to be like a 10-minute roster read. But I think we can go through like what rings are available, what arenas are available, and that will also break down what companies are represented in this game. But they're represented with fake names. Let's read what they represent, because the rings you have: New Japan Pro Wrestling, All Japan Pro Wrestling Noah, 01, UFO, FMW, Michinoku Pro, Toriumon, the WWF, WCW, AAA, which is also 3A in the translation, Rings, Pancrase, Pride, and SWA. Is the SWA the longest running promotion in all of the Fire Pro games?
Yes.
Yeah, it has to be,
absolutely.
Right? Not View Japan, because eventually it veers off.
View Japan.
SWA is still going strong in Fire Pro World.
Oh, yeah. Now, the arenas, you have Kurikan Hall, Nihon Bukuden, the Spike Dome, and generic Japanese gym. Now, okay, so we said that obviously the roster is huge, and there's a lot of wrestlers in this game. But would you like to at least I can break down the first 10 that you have in the game?
Yes, perfect. Let's do that. Especially since they all had such cool nicknames, and even though they are spoofs and like they resemble real wrestlers, they had cool appearances on their own too.
Yeah. So and there's like weird mashup fantasy versions also included in the game. It's a lot. Okay, so your roster, your starting base roster is the following. You start off with the Cyborg, Steve Steele, whose finisher is the Deep Freeze.
Guess who that is?
Then you have the Salesman, Joe Morici, who has the Body Clutch Slam. Then you have the Cremator, Death Head. Not Death Hand, Death Head. And his finisher is the Dangerous Power Bomb. Then you have Gemini Double Trouble, who has the Arm Face Buster. Then Rude Boy Thomas Johnson, who has a standing heel hold. Crimson Beast Anonymous I Am, whose finisher is a chokeslam. Now, I want to talk about this because this is this game's version of Kane, and there is actually a costume that is DX Kane. It is green and black DX Kane. They did it. You were wondering where this was? It's in this game.
Yeah, it matched my office perfectly. Well, that green and black.
There you go. Then you have the computer, Roots Genoa, who has the arm hold and face lock. Preppy Pepe Pena, who has a high power Boston Crab. You have Neo Giant Gigaton Joe, who has a choke slam as a finisher. And finally, Hungry Wolf Jake, whose finisher is the Implant DDT. And honestly, looks like a mashup of Heath and Edge.
When I got home from work, I was Hungry Man John, so put down some burgers. Pretty cool roster, though. It did look exactly like Heath, but we were going through it, and we were looking at them, and we're like, oh, this is this person, and they all look really, really cool. And when we played through Iron Man Road, the first person you wrestle is the Ric Flair type guy, and I would assume once you beat him, that's who you unlock. Unfortunately, George couldn't beat him, so we're not sure.
Hey, you may have made it farther in your playthrough than I did, but there's no need to mock me for my playthrough.
Now, here's the thing. We're playing the American version, obviously, because we live in America. That's the version we have. That's what we can get our hands on. The Japanese version. Are they getting the WWF type-based roster to start also?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. They might get something more relevant towards them.
Well, maybe we'll have to do a second episode on the Japanese version of this game.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. The Japanese versions of Fire Pro games are always better anyway, so I wouldn't be opposed to playing that.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. Oh, no, please don't make us play the better version of a game.
Oh, no, not that.
Oh, no, anything but that. All right, so now let's jump on into the artwork, man. I mean,
I'm gonna ruin it for you right away. Why is naked Ethan Page jumping at that guy with a Superman punch?
He is naked,
and it's definitely Ethan Page.
Yeah, it is kind of Ethan Page. Damn.
Why is he jumping on Ryback?
Oh no.
But very similar to
you've ruined this for me.
Very similar to the first Fire Pro Wrestling Game Boy Advance cover, just obviously a new style for the character. It's not as video game CGI'd out. This is more illustrated, I would say, with the blurred background, but the same logo, it just has a 2 added. Now, Fire Pro does this a lot. Different platforms, different releases, America, whether it's for the Xbox, whether it's for the Game Boy. They changed their logo a lot.
There are a lot of variations of this logo.
That might be something that we could dive in once and just try to compile all the logos.
Bonus episode. Well, first we gotta do the Legion of Doom bonus episode. Now that your move is finished.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be an episode. I just kind of want to see them all laid out. I might work on that in the future. All right, but let's go to the back here.
Which is, I gotta tell you, kind of excited. We got a Fire Pro Wrestling cover that we could actually read the back of.
It says, "Feel the heat," only for Game Boy Advance, not compatible with other Game Boy systems. Now, is that a thing? Because I noticed that on a lot of games. Like, did people buy this and look at that wide cartridge and think that they could put that in, like, their Game Boy Color?
Okay, hear me out. It's not for kids. That warning is for, like, your great Aunt Helen, who's like, I'm going to get Johnny a Christmas gift. And then she goes, Johnny's got a Game Boy. She doesn't know what Game Boy. She thinks you're still playing the giant VCR looking one.
That's true.
And then she gets you a cartridge for the wrong system. And then now your birthday or your Christmas is ruined.
My uncle maybe or someone got me SmackDown Just Bring It one year, and I only had like an N64 and PS1, and I was like, oh, thanks. I'll just look at this. But my grandma used to shock me, and I definitely have mentioned this on episodes before, but she bought me WrestleMania, the arcade game, and In Your House back-to-back Christmases, and I was like, how do you even know what this is? This is awesome.
Oh, damn.
Back to the back cover here. These little screens that the screenshots are in, like the frames, they look like
Kinda
the WWE No Mercy Titantron. Like the newer version.
Yeah, they do.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, they do.
Kind of cool.
And the text on this back cover says, choose from 200 wrestlers and 18 organizations. Make more than 75 different wrestlers and 5 original organizations. Customize every detail of a wrestler's appearance. Use more than 1,200 different fighting techniques. Choose from several match modes, including normal, deathmatch, gruesome, and battle royal. And that looks like it says massage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Manage the career of your wrestler and work your way up to unlock hidden wrestlers in Iron Man Road.
And that's pretty much what this game is, and that's it. That's a pretty good explanation right there on the back with the screenshots. You don't need to sell
this cover.
You don't need to sell a Fire Pro game. Like, just showing that it looks like a Fire Pro game.
American audience, you might have to.
Yeah, but if you're buying this game, you know what Fire Pro is.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, searching this game on Reddit, people love this game. We're going to get into the ratings and reviews in a little bit. Yeah. But this is one of the fan favorites of this game. Like, you have one of your favorite game series now in your pocket. Like, you don't have to go
it's a full-fledged Fire Pro game. It's everything we said about the first game. It's a full-fledged Fire Pro game in the palm of your hand.
Yeah, you don't have to go home and download like a ROM for like the Japanese one. You don't have to play it on a Super Famicom or like a hacked Super Nintendo.
Oh, it's awesome.
You have this game, and that's pretty damn cool.
It's awesome. Awesome. Just, I wish more games were like this. Yeah. Like, I wish there were more ways to equate.
But that's how I felt about Road to WrestleMania, because it played somewhat like No Mercy.
You know what we haven't really dove into yet, which is going to be something that is very along the lines of what you're talking about right now. We have not played any of the wrestling games for the PSP.
No, and I was waiting for you to say that. I had one of the SmackDown vs. Raw, and I for some reason, you ever like you're playing a wrestling game?
We still got a Def Jam to play on the PSP.
Yeah. You ever, like, you're playing a game, you see one move, and you're like, oh, I should create the guy who did this move. Yeah, I remember seeing, like, a Fame-Asser, and I was like, I'm going to create Billy Gunn in, like, SmackDown vs. Raw 2011. And then I started, like, the story mode with Billy Gunn, and I'm like, this is a mistake.
That was me. I'm pretty sure in Warzone, Billy Gunn did the jackhammer, and I remember in Warzone... Weapon?
Not in Warzone.
No, in Warzone or Attitude.
Billy Gunn was not in Warzone.
Is he in Attitude?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Attitude. It's the same game. So in Attitude, Billy Gunn has the jackhammer, and I remember like playing a match as the New Age Outlaws, seeing that he had the jackhammer being like, I have to quit this match and make Goldberg immediately. I wasn't even that big of a WCW fan at the time.
And then
but I immediately was just like, I gotta make him.
The rest of the moves, you just like filled in the blanks. Like, you know how many Rob Van Dams I had in No Mercy? Like 1 million.
Well, yeah, because you're an 80s baby and you're playing wrestling video games. Of course you're going to make Rob Van Dam. We're that demographic.
Exactly. They actually, they had really good Creator Wrestlers recipes online, too, for Rob Van Dam.
Oh, anyway. Just makes me more excited for GMP 64 Season 2.
Maybe that's a hint. But let's go to the art style of this game because we mentioned the logo. That's the first thing you see, and I think this is very bright, very colorful. The Game Boy Advance had a really nice screen on it. I think it's comparable to everything nowadays. It's just looking nice and modern. You get a nice shot of the arena with the ring announcer, and you enter the game. Now, pretty much the same type of menu as the first Fire Pro game for the Game Boy Advance, I would say. Very illustrated, but it's for the Game Boy Advance, so that makes sense that it's illustrated.
Simple yet effective.
Right. And then you go into your options here. But the arena themselves, if you know one Fire Pro from this era, you know pretty much what all of them look like. It looks great. It looks... Something I noticed from actually playing Dream Slam this week, for some reason, they put a lot of space between the crowd and the guardrail. Now, I know that there's the cameraman and there's the announcers out there, but just close them in a little bit. It's not a big screen. You're losing most of the crowd then because the screen's just not that big.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
And one of my favorite parts of this game, other than the timer in the bottom right corner, is the ref is in a box in the left corner, so he's not taking up most of your screen either. And I just can't help but think that if this was a DS game, you would just have him on a different screen.
On a different screen, and he'd probably be twice the size as he is on this.
So unnecessary.
And the special guest appearance, apparently one of the referees is Chris Jericho in this game.
It looks very much like now Chris Jericho.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. I don't know why that's the case, but it is.
Yeah. But once, I can say it 1 million times, you've seen one Fire Pro, you've seen them all. After the match, you get a rating, or you get to just continue and keep fighting your way through. But, George, this is big.
No?
Did you know? Did you know Fire Pro Wrestling 2 is the last handheld version of the series?
Did you know there are over 200 wrestlers available on the Fire Pro Wrestling 2 roster, with the usual edit mode allowing an additional 77 wrestlers?
Did you know Fire Pro Wrestling 2 is on eBay for $54.95 complete, $12 for just the manual, and $134 new sealed?
Hoo-wee.
So that makes me think, Action Arcade Wrestling is on the Switch, Retromania is on the Switch. Why don't we have a Fire Pro on the Switch? If they ported World to the Switch, that would have been a whole new world, literally.
Yeah.
I would have a Switch, probably.
Oh, now a Fire Pro on the Switch.
But Steam Deck, we mentioned it last week, it's coming.
That's true.
You'll be able to play Fire Pro World, most likely on that, whenever that releases. But yeah, for someone who didn't even know this game existed in 2001 and 2002, I would have loved to have this along with Road to WrestleMania. I might not have liked it as much because I wouldn't have understood it, but hey, I understand it now.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe when this game comes out, I'm not so hot on the whole Fire Pro series, but that's mainly just because I haven't given it the chance that it deserves. But now, yeah, give me it. Yeah, we just weren't in that niche crowd back then. I remember the name of it, and I think I would have just thought it was just a Japanese game I couldn't even possibly play. It's true. But all right, very true. We're talking a lot here. Our voices are getting a little dry. Back's a little tense. I know your knees popping because you're an old man. Why don't we sit back? Shut up. Let's sit back, relax, and enjoy some R&R. Some ratings and reviews. So rude.
We haven't had this many ratings in a while, so let's start with Metacritic with a 72 out of 100. Now to break it down, Famitsu gives it a 30 out of 40, Game Informer with a 9 out of 10, damn! GameSpot with an 8.3 out of 10, GameZone with an 8.1 out of 10, IGN with a 7 out of 10, and Nintendo Power with a 2.9 out of 5. Now that one shocks me because usually Nintendo beefs up their scores a little bit for their own games. This game was a runner-up for GameSpot's annual Best Sports Game on the Game Boy Advance Award, but lost to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. I didn't even know that was on here. I had 2 for the Game Boy Advance, and that was awesome. Now,
can you blame it? I kind of want Tony Hawk. I kind of want to play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater right now.
Yeah, no, it's one of the games still remaining on my PlayStation. I barely turn on. But some of the headlines here, Game Informer says, so high above the competition, it's not even funny. Now, what are they comparing it to? Road to WrestleMania? Or, I don't know. It's not that high above it. I guess, no, Road to WrestleMania had that drawn-out story mode that was pretty cool. GameSpot says, while there are more available wrestlers and more custom edit options in this new game, there isn't much that is actually new, improved, or different when compared to the original release, yet they still gave it an 83. GameZone says, hands down, best wrestling game for the Game Boy Advance so far. And IGN says, as a sequel, Fire Pro Wrestling 2 isn't all that it could and should have been. Now, they only gave it a 70. That's 7 out of 10. That's a little rough. I'm not sure about that. But all right, that's the ratings from the professionals, the aggregators. George.
Every time you say aggregators, I think that you're saying aggregators.
It's time to rate the games.
The game!
The video version of this is going to be so good.
Agriculture.
All right. Johnny Clash. Fire Pro Wrestling 2.
I let you have it. See, I let you have it.
Thank you. I see you looking at me and you're like, yeah. Fire Pro Wrestling 2 for the Game Boy Advance. Will you play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
All right, so I'm going to piggyback off IGN here, saying as a sequel isn't all that it could have been, and then I'm going to go to GameSpot, saying that nothing is new, nothing's improved, and nothing's different when compared to the original. But guess what? I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's a good thing, right, DDP? Because this game was awesome. The first one, we played it forever, and I'm going to stick with it, play it forever.
Woo!
And George Feis. You hate me.
I'm still stuck in the DDP reference.
Next week, this show is going to be available in video format for Patreon members, and I can't wait till you guys just get a look into this dynamic of us.
To just John doing stuff and me rolling my eyes and shaking my head.
And my dog coming up to say hi. Hi, Willow.
Hi, Willow.
George Feis, Fire Pro Wrestling 2, Game Boy Advance, and not Game Boy Advanced. Will you play it forever or future endeavor?
I fixed the whole putting a D at the end of advanced, okay? So it's Game Boy Advance. Now, I will say this. I agree with everything that you said, and will follow suit, but I'm going to add one thing that we talk about, and you talked about it a couple minutes ago. If you've played one Fire Pro game, you've played them all. And they didn't have to reinvent the game.
No.
They just needed to make it slightly better, which is what Fire Pro has been doing year after year with the franchise, and it's why it is one of the longest standing wrestling franchises in all of gaming. So for that reason, I will also play it forever.
Woo!
Now, that was way different last week when we played Wrestling Superstars, but that's okay. Yeah, so...
Wait, from what I said? Or just our rating?
No, in general, how you said if you played one, you played them all. Like, they might have taken a little while to get going here in the U.S.
Yeah,
but they did.
I mean, this is the good foundation of the Fire Pro. Like that was the dark ages of Fire Pro.
Yeah.
It was just a name then. There wasn't a whole mechanic behind it yet.
Right. But all right, are you ready to head on over to some gaming news?
Oh, baby.
Nintendo has acquired SRD Co., the company that developed Donkey Kong, Super Mario Bros., Legend of Zelda, Star Fox, Kirby, and Animal Crossing, and more. I don't know. Heard of them, maybe? Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 will still be coming out in 2022, but the new version of Call of Duty won't release in 2023, with a free-to-play Zombies apparently being rumored to come along with it. The Coalition may be working on a new Gears of War game. That's something I could get excited about.
Oh.
New Resident Evil remasters could be announced soon, as updated images now appear on the Resident Evil history webpage. Little tweaks to the artwork. A Twisted Metal teaser could be coming soon, as the version of the game is rumored to be out in 2023. A lot happening, a lot coming out, a lot of news here. Anything sticking out? Anything you're most excited about here?
So the Modern Warfare 2, we've talked about it a million times. It's just the game that we've been asking for. It's the game that we've been waiting for. I mean, it's Vanguard. It wasn't bad, but it certainly wasn't great.
No. But Modern Warfare 2, we could go back and play like multiplayer, which is what I want to do. I don't even care about Warzone. I want that multiplayer back.
Give me. Wasn't Modern Warfare 2 where you could run the co-op missions?
I didn't do that, but maybe.
I'm pretty sure in Modern Warfare 2 you can run co-op missions. It's you and a friend, and it's like you have to silently take out X amount of people in a certain amount of time. It was very Rainbow Six Rogue Squadron-y.
Yes, because you know why? Me and my two friends, we got the triple capture one, and it was called Trip Cap, where you have to hold all three positions for like a minute or 2 minutes. And when we got it, holy shit, we went nuts.
That's like, that's a whole new series or a live stream or something when that game comes out. We are 100% doing that.
Yeah, I'm excited to have multiplayer back in my life.
But also, not to poo-poo on any of the other things that are happening. I mean, Twisted Metal, loved that game as a kid, had a bunch of them over the years. And I know you said that you were excited about Gears, and Nintendo is just acquiring everybody, or everyone is just, all the big gaming companies are just acquiring everybody now. So,
yeah, I mean, SRD worked with Nintendo almost primarily throughout the years, so it's about time that they kind of took them over anyway. Yeah. Nintendo's just kind of on their own, still the master of their own domain, and
they're just nice.
Yeah.
They're good about stuff.
They realized what they are, and they fed into it, and I think that's what they needed to do. That's what Sega needed to do as well, but whatever.
So there is a game coming out for the Switch, John, that I will tell you I have no shame in saying how excited I am about it. Do you remember the Wii?
Yes, I do.
Did you have one?
I did. I recently sold it.
Do you remember what the shining star of the Wii was when it first came out?
Wii Sports, and only Wii Sports.
Guess what's coming out April?
A new Wii Sports?
Nintendo Switch Sports.
Oh my god, I'm coming over to golf.
They had a playable demo for 3 days over the recent holiday weekend that we had in the States, and there were certain time slots that you could play. So there was 3 45-minute time slots that you could play. I cannot tell you how much fun I had. I only played in one of the sessions. I had so much fun. It was I felt like I was a kid again. Like bowling, tennis. They have a new thing called Chambara, which is literally just sword fighting. Like badminton. Golf is coming later on in a later patch. Badminton. I don't know why Wii Sports or Switch Sports is so fun, but it is. And I'm very excited about it. And yes, we will produce content with it.
All right. I don't have a Switch, but I'm ready to go. Maybe that's what will bring me in.
Oh.
Probably not.
But then we can get Smash Brothers, and there's like a whole other mess of games we can play.
But all right, games releasing this week. There's actually a lot of them. Beginning of March, here we go. Elix 2 is coming out for PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, and Xbox. Far, Changing Tides is coming out across the board. Little Orpheus also across the board. Megaquarium, Freshwater Frenzy DLC for PS4, Xbox, and Switch. 35mm for PS4, Xbox, and Switch. Zombie Rollers, Pinball Heroes for the PC and Switch. See, now that sounds like a Switch game to me. Babylon's Fall for the PC, PS5, and PS4. And Beholders 3 for the PC. I feel like you like this one. Gran Turismo 7 for the PlayStation. Do you like that?
Nah, Gran Turismo's never been. I'm more of a Need for Speed kind of guy.
I knew it was one of those.
The car racing, yeah.
I knew it was one of those. Gunborg Dark Matters for the PC, PS5, PS4, Xbox, and Switch. Music Racer Ultimate for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. And Triangle Strategy for the Switch. Yeah, another game I would typically say, yep, that's a Switch game.
All right. YouTube.com/GameMarksPodcast for all of our weekly playthroughs, exclusive content, and more, including this week and every week's game. Patreon. Let's talk a little bit about that, John. What's happening on Patreon this week?
All right, tomorrow, March 1st, if you're listening to this on Monday, the brand new Patreon tiers are going to be up. We're offering you even more content. So Monday, you're getting the show ad-free, and you're also getting the aforementioned video version, so you're going to be able to see us argue live and in person.
What? We never argue.
Tuesday, you're getting the show notes, and you're also getting GMP Game Over, Feel the Bang, which we've been enjoying immensely. We're making our way through the challenges on that. Wednesday, Future Endeavored. Last week, I played Superfire Pro Wrestling All-Star Dream Slam. And this week, you're playing WWF/WWE, whichever version you have, Raw. Now, Thursday, here we go. Brand new show. TK Wild brings you Wild's World Episode 1. We don't know what shenanigans he's going to get into, but you're going to want to be a part of it. Now, we're going to stagger these shows since they're monthly. So next Thursday after that might be a week off. Then we're going to do OMG, one more game. Then we're going to do maybe a game night. So Thursdays are kind of the open slot for the new stuff. And tomorrow, Tuesday at 8 p.m. on twitch.tv/GameMarksPod for everyone, we are doing the GMP 64 draft live.
The boys are back in town.
Now, we got some rules that we'll go through when the time comes during the draft, but pretty much we're each keeping 3 of our roster from last year. We're getting some creator wrestler slots from the Mega Marks themselves, and we're making our own creator wrestlers, and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, so if you want to have your say in Season 2 of GMP 64, now is your time. Sign up for Patreon, become a Mega Mark today, and control the action in GMP 64 Season 2. John, we got to
plug one thing here. Like, our Discord is what kind of drives our show, our Patreon. We have so much fun in there. It's just a chat that goes on all day. We share Wordle in the morning. We talk about gaming news. It's $1 to enter in the Patreon.
I would say let's equate it to something that many people who listen to this podcast are also probably very familiar with. The Major Wrestling Figure Podcast Facebook group that you get for being a member of their Patreon. It's the same thing, except it's on Discord, and we talk a lot more about video games. So if you are a big fan of video games, and you also enjoy this podcast, and you want to talk with more like-minded people, come check out our Patreon and come check out the Game Marks Podcast Discord channel.
Yeah, and there's other people in there. There's Swoggle, who
Bear Bronson,
who one day will remember his password. Liam Davis, Phil Cardigan, all the friends of the pod are in there. So come hang out. That's the bottom tier. It's $1. That's all you need. So come join us today. But George, you ready to put a bow on this?
Oh, I got a surprise for you next week, John.
Oh, let me have it.
Next week, we are taking a break from the Mega Mark picked games because we are sitting down, we are getting some friends together, and we are playing Smack Talk Showdown.
Oh, if it's anything like the promos you've cut on me in the past, you're going down.
A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. The boyhood dream and all. Yeah, no, I'm going to probably be really bad at that. But hey, it's going to be fun, and we're going to play with some friends, so
I'm looking forward to it. It's a game we've had for a while, and just saying, we have another wrestling card game / board game in the works that is in my possession that we'll also be covering in the near future.
Ooh, can't wait to see and play that one as well. But guys, that is it. GameMarksPod.com/shop for all of our exclusive merchandise. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod for all of our shirt designs. Got a couple new ones coming up in the next few weeks, so be on the lookout for that. You heard us just talk about it. Patreon.com/GameMarksPod for all the exclusive content, show notes, exclusive shows, everything that John just listed off at GameMarksPod on all forms of social media. Make sure to smack that subscribe button and leave us a review and a 5-star rating on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you have a product or service that you would like to advertise on this podcast, please reach out to us at GameMarksPod@gmail.com. That's it, man. We're done. Do that thing that you do, John.
Game over. Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.